Hey guys, got an interesting topic this week. In these days of social media, every moron can talk out the side of his head to an international audience. Rick Joyner used to say that because of the web, people he wouldn't put in charge of a home group can have a worldwide ministry. I think it behooves us to study the example of the mystics and the contemplative church fathers who valued silence and listening as a chief virtue over speaking. A lot of these guys, the last thing they ever wanted was public ministry. Everybody else would push them into it. And now it's just the opposite. Today you get a business card and a website, there you are trying to get meetings on Facebook. Now look, while I talk hot and fast as a preacher, I prefer to live most of my life in quietness and meditation. Shutting up can actually make you seem smarter than you are. Proverbs 17:28, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he's deemed intelligent. Psalm 141:3, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth, keep watch over the door of my lips. Job, he says that men listened to him, they waited and kept silent for his counsel. And when there's a weight of counsel on you, people are silent, and we should be silent when there's good counsel flowing. Imagine the glory of walking in God's counsel rather than just living in the continuous spew of your own ideas. Habakkuk 2:20, but the Lord is in his holy temple, let all the earth keep silence before him. There's an awe and a wonder when we live in the awareness of God's presence that makes our own words seem irrelevant nonsense in light of his glory. Even Jesus, in his most trying moment, he wasn't talking himself silly, but Isaiah 53 says he opened not his mouth. He was like a lamb led to the slaughter, like a sheep that before his shears is silent, so he opened not his mouth. Notice the good Lord himself never said, let he who has a mouth to speak, let him speak. But instead he said, he who has ears, let him hear. And how does faith come? By constantly blathering? No. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. Show me a man who cannot be silent, and I will show you a man who has never been overcome by the weight of God's immeasurable glory. In heaven, Revelation tells us there are moments of silence. The Psalms are full of selahs, these quiet refrains in which there's wonder and meditation over the majesty and presence of God. Proverbs are full of admonitions to watch your tongue, much like the book of James. A prudent man conceals knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly. You don't have to share everything you know. Take time to digest, meditate, let it ferment, let the truth become a wellspring that has to burst out of you. So often we regret our verbal processing of incomplete thoughts when quietness and humility bring a better blessing. Proverbs says, a fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. If you really want to get jacked up, read some of the contemplative monastic writers like Thomas Merton or guys who value silence, and try taking an entire day where you commit to saying nothing. Watch the colors come alive and that still small voice of God begin to break through the cacophony. Basic understanding that our words have power and that our tongues are the rudder of the ship and they can set things ablaze. This concept should enable us to see our mouths as loaded assault rifles that should not be flippantly used. Now, before you think this is just a moralistic spanking, I want to take a look at the other side of the equation, because you have word of faith people that they often understand the power of our words, but sometimes they get so flippin' paranoid that they start to appeal to this truth in a very legalistic way. Well, watch what you say. Your words have power. Yeah, my words have power, but God knows when I'm joking as well. Look, I'm not saying that you can't have a normal conversation about sports or sex or pizza without speaking King James. And while you have a lot of self-appointed preachers talking smack, I'm also not saying that we're not allowed to share the good news. Dude, it burns in our bones like a fire. I can't be silent. But for all I've said about watching the tongue, we got to take a look at the other side of the fear and performance orientation that needs to be removed out of the equation. Some people become so wound up and introverted because they're afraid to say anything. And one misunderstood verse that often causes people a lot of fear and condemnation is Matthew 12:36. Jesus says, "But I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every idle word they have spoken." Now, as a new believer, I was scared that any word I spoke that wasn't a prophecy or Bible verse was going to come back to condemn me. And man, that'll turn you into a weirdo really quick. Obviously, in context, we see Jesus was dealing with the issues of the heart here. He's saying that out of the heart we speak. And words indicate the condition of our hearts. Are we accepting, believing, receiving that reconciliation He provided to the cosmos? Or, like the Pharisees in this passage of Matthew, are we blaspheming the Spirit by resisting the Spirit when He points us to Jesus? They were calling Jesus a devil, which He Himself forgives, just like He says. But blasphemy of the Spirit here is not God refusing forgiveness. It's simply a man rejecting Jesus, the only package salvation comes in. The only unforgiveness is when you're walking in a place of rejecting the forgiveness He's already given. You see, He's never withholding anything from His end. There's something else worth mentioning here. As with all of His teachings, Jesus was playing the law card in such a way as to frustrate His listeners and bring them to a point of recognizing their need for grace. I mean, who hasn't spoke an idle word? I mean, we all have. From a legal perspective, even the slightest infraction condemns us, and we're all up Chute Creek without a paddle. But our own actions and our own words are not the final clause in our judgment. Jesus was still preaching from the other side of the cross on Judgment Day. It is the enemy, not the Lord, who accuses us. We ultimately overcome by appealing to a higher word. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. He is that word. Jesus is the word of salvation. Your silence doesn't save you any more than your dumb Facebook posts condemn you. The word of life is Jesus. If we appeal to any other word when confronted at the judge's bench, it is empty, it is vanity. If we appeal to our religious effort, if we appeal to our own evangelism statistics, if we appeal to our church building campaigns, appeal to our food pantry volunteerism, if I have all I give to the poor, suffer my body to the flame, but have not love, I have nothing. In fact, if we even appeal to our own love for God as merit for entry into His kingdom, it is absolutely empty and sufficient. You are not saved by your love for God. You are saved by His love for you. Only Mr. Love Himself gives access to His presence. It is to cheapen and disregard His goodness to think you can buy or earn or merit His love or merit any entry into His kingdom. That is to prostitute His love. You cannot buy it. He gives it freely of His own accord. He has already given it freely of His own accord. Many will come to me on that day and say, Lord, Lord, have we not worked miracles in your name, etc., etc., and anti-charismatics. They use that verse to try to prove that prophecy and healing is somehow wicked because people are not allowed in after they tout it. Look, no, these guys are appealing to some pretty great things they've done, but we do not gain access by anything we have done. Even our best efforts are pointless in the light of His finished work. If anything anti-charismatic you see in this verse is, hey, these guys are doing miracles, and that wasn't good enough. I don't even do miracles. I should give up my striving and trust Jesus. That's the point of what Jesus is saying. Any other word you speak when confronted with His presence besides Jesus Christ and Him crucified is vanity, nothingness, a chasing after the wind. How on earth Could we appeal to our own efforts, activities, and meaningless words when we have the Word of God Himself melded right into us? The word of faith that's already in your mouth. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week.
My love for other people has just blown up. I have such a desire to go back into my family, into my home, and just really love on the people that I've grown up with, the people that have raised me, whereas religion was separating me from my family. The unity and community in the family here, and getting wrecked in the presence together, and really being able to be vulnerable and open and share my heart with other people. My view of God has completely changed in a lot of different ways. My study of the Bible, when I'm looking to find the gospel message in the Bible, is completely changed. I just look for Jesus. I just look to find Jesus everywhere in the Word. So my life's been really transformed by this gospel. I get to know who God is now because I get to know and look and see the life of Jesus. I get to know the Father. And so I really know who my dad is.
Visit thenewmystics.com/schools to see our finalised calendar of mystical schools for the next year. John will be in Dublin, Ireland, November 7 to 9, Brisbane, Australia, December 5 to 7, woohoo! And Houston, Texas, January 2015. In February, he'll be in Liverpool, England, Reykjavik, Iceland, and Basel, Switzerland. In March 2015, he'll be in Las Vegas. And join us south of the border for our Mexico mission. We'll minister to thousands from around the country. It's our most affordable mission trip ever, and folks are already signing up, so lock in a spot early.
Hey, hey.